All right, friends, it's T-Man. We're back with, again, a new video. It's JasonBlaha again, man. We're going to react to this gym lifting, recruiting, fitness, gear slave himself, JasonBlaha. So in this video, Blaha says, old school bodybuilders got jacked by doing heavy work followed by pump work. No, they got jacked by taking steroids. That's how they got jacked.
Heavy work followed by pump work is a time-proven method. Hey everybody, it's JasonBlaha here, and I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today, but a quick reminder, if you guys will please click like down below, I would appreciate it. If you aren't following or subscribed, please do so, and if you guys would be so kind, drop me a comment down below with your thoughts, or just to say hello.
We would, but you banned all of us, Blaha, so we can't.
Under the video, I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you so much. Let's get over to the topic at hand. All right, okay. This is the single most effective old school method that everybody did back in the day. It produced tons and tons of...
It did? Old school body, they did this back in the day?
Extremely jacked, extremely aesthetic, extremely strong guys.
Oh yeah, they did. They took steroids back in the day, yeah. They got extremely jacked. It gave them a lot of strength and a bunch of stuff, the steroids, yes.
Before the drug use got to the level that it's at today, you know, and I think people have to remember.
Before the drug use? Well, they weren't jacked. Go look at 1941, look at the bodybuilders. There's a channel, they were showing them the comparison. One guy was doing comparisons. They look nothing like the bodybuilders of the old school, whatever, days and these days. Nothing like that.
They have to remember a lot of what you see in modern bodybuilding and things like that is very heavily based on the amounts of things.
There's no such thing as modern bodybuilding in general. Steroids, it's a cult, a steroid drug-induced cosmetic cult. That's what it is. It's not really based on bodybuilding because they're not building their bodies. They're taking drugs.
They use, and even the types, and that is a big factor. But when you go further back, and this still applies today, like you still see in powerlifting, for example, you see plenty of the top guys still training this way in spite of whatever they're using. But we saw this in bodybuilding too, even in the modern era. So we can't even say, well, you know, none of the top guys do that today, but they did. Ronnie Coleman did.
Okay. Ronnie Coleman, he's a drug addict. He belongs to that cult. So he's not really a bodybuilder. He wasn't really building his body. He took steroids. To build your body, you have to do something very specific. And it isn't lifting a heavy weight concentrically. That's not going to build bodies.
We saw the same thing with guys like what? Michael Hart still does stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, essentially the whole concept of power building.
Yeah, Michael Hearn still takes some substance to fake it cosmetically, yeah. We're pretty sure about that. Okay.
Is what older school bodybuilding was like, and those guys were all strong, they were all jacked. I mean, technically, how many of these? Go back to the 50s.
They were all on drugs, yes. They all injected strength in them. And they all exuded this cosmetic look, yes, Blaha.
And 60s. Like,
yes.
Go back, look at the top physiques in the 60s.
Yes.
And compare how those guys looked aesthetically and everything else compared to modern bodybuilding, even the men's physique or the classic physique.
Isn't that considered modern?
Those guys had better bodies. They
had better bodies. They had, I don't know, they're taking different drugs today and they're eating like crazy and eating carbs, doing a bunch of weird stuff.
Looked better. All right? They looked better than even the guys winning the men's physique today or the classic bodybuilding at the Olympia level. They had great physiques, but that's how they all trained. And if you look at modern science, it's been largely confirmed. What do I mean? What do I mean?
That's how they all injected those steroids that they were using at the time. Those were the drugs they used at the time to get that cosmetic look, yes. The modern bodybuilders today, they have more choices to use these drugs. There's more drugs, more choices. Definitely.
Look at data on, there's been studies done on doing a heavy single at 90% or higher of your 1 rep max, followed by doing 10 rep sets. Okay? But with weight that was around
90%, you're talking about concentric lifting again. That has nothing to do with bodybuilding. That doesn't build bodies, bro. Eccentric builds bodies. So really, I don't understand what you're talking about.
The 10 rep max afterwards. What did they find in those studies?
Okay.
That it primed the nervous system. So when you do a heavy single before you do your pump work,
it primed the nervous system, but it didn't build bodies. Okay.
it's pump work. I don't care what lift it is. I don't care if it's a bench
No, bodybuild. That's real bodybuilders. We don't do pump work, dude. We do damaging sessions.
press or a curl or a tricep extension. You
Whatever.
do 10 plus reps. We're doing pump work, which I like to do plenty of. You'll watch me right here in this thing doing sets of 10 with weighted.
We just use bodybuilding to enhance our physical performance. That's all we use it for, really. Anything excessively there, the look that it gives us, you know, we could get bigger muscles, whatever, look big and a bunch of stuff. Well, that could be a plus, I guess. I don't know. It kind of gives you this look. So, yeah.
Hips with 90 pounds of plates, right? I like that sort of work. I think it's great, even for powerlifting. But back over to the
That's concentric.
point. It's pump work. But what did they find in the data? They got more efficient muscle fiber recruitment on the 10 rep sets. What? Because their nervous system was already pre-primed, they found that those faster twitch fibers did what?
Yeah.
They recruited earlier in the set. This has been found in some
Oh, they did they?
studies. So it's essentially we are priming the nervous system. You're attenuating those motor units with the heavier work. Plus, you're already hitting them first. You know, what are we looking at in terms of muscle growth? What?
Right, but you're not building any muscles because you're not lifting concentrically. You're priming the nervous system for the concentric. That's the adaptation process. Okay. Yep.
What really causes muscle growth? Recruiting.
I'll tell you what really causes it. Eccentric overload exercises is what causes muscle growth. Yes.
The fast twitch fibers. Like if you're not a novice, if you've been training a few years, almost all of your muscle growth
Law says motor units says that's what it's going to build muscles. Okay.
is coming from the fast twitch fibers. Sets that do not recruit them, reps that do not recruit them, are not really giving you any muscle.
How does muscles grow, Blaha? How do they grow exactly? How does the mass grow? Do these contractile proteins, what are they? Actin, myosin? Okay. What are they? Sarcomeres. Sarcomeres in parallel, sarcomere in series. How do you get them? Lifting eccentrically, okay.
Don't let anybody convince you otherwise, unless you just up to the dose, bro. Because drugs can.
Oh, see? Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Just up the dose of the drug so you can fake it, like Blaha. Faking it to make it, because he doesn't know what builds muscles.
All those intermediate fibers start growing again.
Sure.
But lifting won't. Novices, sure, you'll get tons of it. That's why they grow so fast. Right?
Oh, boy.
It's not that their fast twitch fibers grow slower. It's that
yeah.
that's the only thing that's growing the more you.
They're not growing because they're adapted to your eccentric in the full range of motion, or whatever it is you're doing there. You're not lifting enough eccentrically to cause that damage. Anyway, it's adapted. Your eccentric's adapted to your full range of motion. And you're not even doing that. You're doing concentric, partial concentrics. This is ridiculous.
The more advanced you get. So the heavy work attenuates that. So and it also fatigues it. So because those fibers
That actually gets your muscles to adapt by shrinking them. Get it? Especially the ones in series that give you this athletic ability and more force and a bunch of stuff.
recruited maximally, right? All those muscle fibers are recruited on a really heavy set or a heavy single. Well, guess what? They're already partially fatigued. Well, you need them fatigued. That is how they grow. So then you get over to your pump work, and man, those fibers have already been hit once. They've been hit really hard. So now we're going to come through and hit them again with some volume, right? We're going to make sure we hit them with multiple reps, 5 or more reps on every set, get those fibers again. That's the idea. You get in and you work them. And that's what makes us bigger, okay? But we have to remember, too, all that.
How does that make you bigger, though? He never really explained it.
Heavy work had spillover effects, and everybody seems to forget about that. Doing big, heavy work.
Big, heavy work. So tell me, how does big, heavy partial concentrics build a muscle? Nowhere in science does it say that. It says associated with a loss. But, you know, Blaha, gotta do heavy so you can keep them really small and weak.
big barbell movements, big weighted exercises, you know, weighted chin-ups, weighted pull-ups, squat, bench, deadlift, standing presses with a barbell, all this stuff, you're getting enormous amounts of spillover to other muscles, and they are getting a growth stimulus. We know this from the lab. They do grow some from this. So doing these big movements is just so efficient, and it prepares you for the other work to grow. And I'm not saying you can't get plenty big doing the other. I'm not saying you can't. I mean, my God, I would even consider it someday myself if I just quit caring about strength or powerlifting at all. But I would still be strong because I could come back in powerlifting in 6 weeks, be putting up big numbers again. It wouldn't even matter at that point. But, you know, I don't think there's anything.
Any numbers he puts up is because he injected strength in him. He's weak. And he never built any muscle.
Wrong with the other. I'm not
I can prove it.
telling you a person can't spend their whole time in, you know, the 10 to 15 rep range on good exercises, right? I'm not telling you, or 8 to 15, that you can't do that and get phenomenal results. What I'm telling you is there's other fringe benefits, and there's a good efficiency to doing some really heavy work first. And that's what I'm saying, okay? And the only downside, I think people forget that the only downside of the really heavy work is that it can beat your joints up and stuff up a little bit. But you don't have to do tons of it. That's kind of the point. That doesn't happen when the volumes are moderated at the really heavy work. It's only when you do too much, okay? So that's the point. There's no real downside other than then it can beat joints and things up. Sure, but we come back over, what are we promoting in this video? What are we promoting? The exact opposite. We're promoting, hey, do some heavy work. And
okay.
Then follow it up with the pump work. Okay, you'll get the best.
Hold on. Do some heavy work and follow it up with pump work. What's pump work? I don't understand anything this guy's talking about. Does anybody understand, Blaha? What the hell are you talking about?
Both worlds. Okay, you will get the best of both worlds. You'll get the benefits of the big strength training, the extra muscle density, the better bone density and tendons and all that. But then you can go to the lighter pump work afterwards. So that
all that bone density and muscle density comes from the eccentric exercise. That's where it comes from. It doesn't come from concentric lifting. Okay, dude? It doesn't. It doesn't cause micro tears.
You don't just keep beating your body up, and then we continue to recruit muscle fibers, continue to create some fatigue in those fast twitch fibers, get some extra muscle growth behind it. Okay, it works, and it's always worked. It is a time-proven, old-school method that has worked for generations and produced phenomenal physiques before most of us were even born, long before for many of you. And it works. And it's never going to stop working. So don't let people convince you otherwise. It is, again, a time-proven, old-school method that is still carried all the way into the modern era to still produce some of the greatest champions. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been...
Man, I don't know what he's talking about. They produce nothing but a bunch of drug addicts. They're not athletes. These so-called people on stage, they're not athletes, man. The drug people, I don't even consider them athletes. They're all cheating the people, man. That's not athletic, bro. That's just something, you took something to cheat your way through. A lot of people do that in life. The regrets only come out afterward. They don't come out during the time they do it. It's after the fact. I'll see you in the next one. Touch, think about that, like, subscribe, support the channel. See you in the next video.